Hi folks, I'm Amy with Woodbridge Consulting, and I have been working with leaders for over 20 years and doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, kind of advice, support, whatnot. And I've been encouraged over the years many times to do videos. So you know what? I'm finally doing it. So this is my first video. I'm going to call it Management 101. So the intention is to help new managers with just really good advice, sound ways to build your habits that you'll use for years. But actually, in my experience, a lot of experienced managers could also benefit from this. So let's talk about the topic. Video number 1 is about don't broad brush. So what do we mean by that? So if you have a behavior that needs to change, and it's a person or a few people who need to make a behavior change, it is probably not the best approach to broad brush it. I have seen this in so many instances applied in kind of different ways where a manager goes into a big group, even though they know maybe it's one person, maybe it's a couple people, but they say, hey guys, we need to make this shift. We really need everybody to start doing this. And guess what happens? It actually has zero effectiveness. You are not going to get the results you think. This person's thinking, she's not talking to me. This other person, not talking to me. I wonder who she's talking about. But nobody receives the message and it has no results. And frankly, it's not the courageous thing to do as a manager. You can stay tuned for a future video where we're going to talk about how do you exactly give some one-on-one feedback for somebody that needs to make an improvement or needs to make a change. We can talk about that. So I want to give you a really good example that might stick with you when you catch yourself tending to do something like this. And that is, many years ago, I was doing consulting for a hospital. And there was a change that needed to happen with a group of surgeons, which aren't necessarily the easiest group to get to change. So everybody was aware and involved in the change, and they knew the date that this change was supposed to be effective. So when that day came, I knew that it could not just come and go with absolutely nothing happening, if you didn't comply, like not even knowing that, no one would even know and you don't hear anything. So the first thing I did was at the end of that day identified, okay, we have this group of surgeons who have not complied. They've actually chosen not to comply. And then we have a group of surgeons that have complied. So I was in a position where I had to decide, what are you going to do with that? So let's think about the choices that I had. I mean, the first thing that I could do is take the whole group of surgeons, which is probably how we've been communicating to them up front, and say to the whole group, hey guys, the change was to become effective today. Many of you have not made that change, and we really need you to do that. But the downside of that is that, first of all, now the ones that were compliant see that, oh, there's a lot of people who aren't compliant. Maybe that's not such a big deal. So next time that it would be easier just to go back to my old way of doing things, it's not a big deal. If I don't have time, I just won't do it. So that collateral would be created if I did that messaging. So first one, I could send the message to everybody, those compliant and those not compliant. The second thing I could have done is taken that population of surgeons who didn't comply, and maybe I send an email to that whole group, or I reach out to that whole group and say, hey guys, if you're getting this email, that means that you didn't comply with the change. As you know, it was effective today, and blah, blah, blah. But what that does is some of the surgeons are going to be like, oh, I'm in good company. It looks like there was quite a few people who chose not to do that. Again, not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. And then the third alternative would have been this is what I did, was to take each of those people as individuals. And even though it was a real headache, and it may have been 100 emails, but sustaining that change and doing that on day one and showing that there is not wiggle room was worth it. So I sent an email, Dear Surgeon Jones, I see on your case today with blah, 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 that you were not compliant. As you know, the change went in effect today. You are now in, the red status or whatever we chose to do. I don't recall at the moment. And so I took the time to send individual emails to each of them because I did not want them to think like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing it. They're instead thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not in compliant. I'm getting a specific email. Oh my gosh. And actually it really worked. My phone started lighting up like a Christmas tree with all the surgeons calling, going, oh my gosh, I'm not in compliance, that kind of thing. So it actually worked. And I use that strategy a lot. If if I send something out and a group does not respond and I'm doing follow-up, I might not send it to the whole group. I might send individually each email so they don't know that they're in good company with all these people that didn't comply, and they take it a little more seriously, and I get the results, because after all, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to get a change in behavior. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is number 1 of possibly many to come. So love to hear from you if this was helpful, if you have an example of something where maybe this applied, and if you have any other topics that you want for the future. So the bottom line is, advice for today is broad brush. Don't do it, folks. Have a good day.